Welcome to How Things Work, Physics 1050. I'm Lou Bloomfield, and I hope I've sent all of you emails getting this sort of on the road, so we're going to spend the next 14-ish weeks looking at how things work. Some things to sort of start off with. I'll take today in part to introduce the course and in part to actually look at our first topic or object of attention, which is skating. And so starting off then, what's physics? It's the study of the basic physical world. So this is the natural world. It's sort of its mechanical behaviors as opposed to living things. And I don't draw sharp boundaries between what I consider to be physics and the other sciences. I'm sort of naturally kind of interdisciplinary. It's just my nature, my interest. So why study physics? It explains and predicts how the universe works. So if you have sort of the tools that I'll try to convey to you over the semester, under your control, you can both look at things, perhaps things that I've never talked about, and figure out how they work and why they do what they do. And you can even anticipate, predict what things are going to do without having actually seen them do it, because they're following these fundamental rules that ultimately are the same here as they are anywhere else in the universe. One of the, well, to my mind, interesting things about physics is it's people, intelligent life elsewhere in the universe will have discovered exactly the same physics you're learning here today. It's sort of second only to mathematics in that character, it's everywhere. It is what it is. It's the same here as anywhere else. It's all about the how and why questions, and you'll see that sort of maybe it's sort of a conceit of mine to ask how and why questions deliberately during the semester, as opposed to what? As opposed to the what, where, when, who type questions, which typically aren't physics. They're typically not even science. And finally, physics is sort of a key component of science literacy. It's tools for a living. This is useful stuff, and I'll go on a longer harangue about that in a minute. It's woven through modern life. So physics is sort of unavoidable now, even if you don't think of it in terms of physics. All this technology and post-industrial revolution and various other revolutions that have happened since, they're all just interwoven with physics. And you all, in your lifetime, more than mine, will be facing serious problems that are ultimately physics in origin, science in general, but physics in particular, that you all will have to deal with. And so at this point, I mean, it's early in the semester for me to get on my soapboxes, but you'll see I do this from time to time. You don't know me very well, many of you. Most of you, there are a few of you who are here back from Physics 1060, and welcome back. More about that in a moment, but anyway, so I'm going to do my soapboxes, okay? So you bear with me for a second. Sort of serious lecture-y type stuff here. I had wrote it out. I'm not very good at like lecturing off of a sheet, but oh well, once in a while I do it. So this class offers an opportunity to learn something about how the world around you actually works. People who don't understand the natural world are destined to make many ill-informed decisions over the course of their lifetime, and to find themselves at the mercy of both people who better understand the science and people who are simply charlatans. So, apropos of the charlatan stuff, it's like I had two of these lovely little toys. They're antiques in effect, and I smashed the one with the purple liquid in it earlier today. Sad but true. So this is the one with the pink liquid, which is not as fun from my perspective, but what is happening right now is I hold the bottom. It's called a love tester, okay? I didn't make it up. It's on the box. As I warm it up at the bottom, the liquid goes higher and higher in there. Ooh, this is science. I know science. Buy my products. Support my ideas. The science is still out. Or vote for me. Basically the idea is, what I'm trying to convey then is if you don't understand science, you are at the mercy of a lot of crap, okay? So it's worth knowing it. Science itself isn't perfect. Like every realm of human endeavor, it's susceptible to mission diverting, or some might say corrupting influences of money, power, and politics. Scientists themselves are human. Like anyone else, people in and around science crave attention, approval, and affirmation. Look at me, I'm a scientist, woo, woo, woo. You know, the eclipse was actually an interesting experience for those of you who might have watched some of it. There's a lot of that, wow, I'm a scientist, pay attention to me, okay? And sometimes science, society itself lets the word science sort of degrade into meaninglessness to advance agendas, like support science because it's cool. Or I'm not a scientist, so I consider both sides of the disagreement equally valid. Earth is flat, Earth is round, who knows? Whether science is or is not cool is immaterial. That's not a reason to study science. Study science because it's useful, both as a practical matter and as a way to develop your mind. It doesn't thrill me to say this. So this is the core of my soapbox moment here is that even I have figured out that getting a college degree is far more important, more valuable to you. I was just not important, valuable to you than getting a college education. You all have figured this out too. I didn't make it this way. I wouldn't have it this way if I could choose otherwise. But the degree matters. Many of you will get jobs that require a college degree but not a college education. Also a bizarre situation in modern life. So there's little direct incentive to learn anything in college these days. For everyone involved, the education part of higher education has become voluntary. It drives me crazy, but I can't fix it. All right? Yeah, this is what your grandfathers would say, or grandmother would. Okay, but I'm doing it anyway. My granddaughter is only 2. All right, what I can do is try to teach you some real science about the world you live in and to give you what I consider tools for a living. And that's my goal here. If you can learn them and hold on to them, I think they'll serve you well. At least I hope so. Okay, so that's my first soapbox. And it's, well, there's nothing to, in general, this is aside from the soapbox. If you've got questions or thoughts or whatever, please speak up. Yeah, you may think this is a huge class. I used to teach this as large as 500 students, so I consider this an intimate gathering. This is a huge improvement over the old days. And as you'll see, I try to get to know as many of you as I can, certainly by name and beyond that, and you know, it's my obsession, but I do it anyway. But the point is to make this something of a real interaction, not just the things that I was soapboxing about. Okay? Back to my slides here, which I will jabber about in a second too, and my second soapbox, but that's down the road. So this class, how things work. So I've been doing this since 1991. It's sort of become one of my missions in life. It's the physics in the context of objects. So it's a non-conventional course in that respect. I wasn't the first person to come up with the idea, but I'm certainly the person who stuck with it the longest. The priorities in this course are the objects of the everyday life. Objects being a little bit fuzzy, like skating isn't exactly an object, but it's an activity of everyday life. So the objects come first. Within them, we will discover the principles of physics. And on rare occasion, we will encounter the formulas, the ability. Physics is an exact science. You can calculate stuff out your ears. We will do that rarely, if at all, and the formulas are more to finally finish the fleshing out of a concept. They are not the be-all and end-all. So for those of you who are used to mathematics and may say you hate it, you love it, whatever, we're going to set that mostly aside. I've found for years it's a distraction. People will grab onto it, do the calculations. This includes physics majors and budding physicists. Will grab onto the calculations, calculate away, get the right answer even, but not have no idea what they just calculated. That probably includes me, my freshman year in college, in bits and pieces. So it's understanding what's really going on at the conceptual level is hard, and we'll work on that first and foremost. And we'll do it in the context of things you care about, so it has something to hang under. It's case study method, really. Something that's used elsewhere, in other parts of academia, business school, for example, but here it is in physics, so we'll look at cases. It is the how and why question. So if you can think of how, most how and why questions, I shouldn't say it, how and why the world is crazy. So why is the world crazy? That's not physics. But there are questions that are not physics that are how and why, but a lot of how and why questions are physics. And ultimately, this is how physics was discovered. Scientists didn't go out trying to, today's formula I'm going to try to invent is this one. No, they tried to explain the real world. And bit by bit, they came up with all these conceptual understanding pieces. So my goals and expectations, I hope that you'll develop your understanding and intuition, that ultimately you'll be able to go out and look at the world, I don't want to destroy the beauty of the world. The world's an amazing place in so many ways, but you can look at something. I'm thinking of the sunset, but that's a topic for 1060, the other semester version of this course. But you can look at, the ocean, watching the waves crash, and you can say, well, that's really cool, but you also can understand them. There's method behind the madness there, and you can understand it. You'll appreciate where science fits into the world, and physics in particular. The universe is largely predictable. It's not entirely predictable for interesting reasons, but you can begin to see how it operates. And hopefully you'll come away feeling like science is not something to fear, it's something that's interesting. I have taught future physicists, but my goal in this class is certainly not to it's not a missionary class trying to recruit future scientists of any sort. It's rather to inform people who are going to go off and do other very interesting things and to enrich your lives as a result. So hopefully you'll come away not fearing science the way that many people end up being. I expect what? To understand, not memorize. This is not a class about piling formulas into your head and then having them dribble out right at the beginning of the summer break. Hopefully you actually understand what the heck happened. I'll do lots of demonstrations, and the demonstrations always have a reason for doing them, and if I haven't conveyed to you that reason, what is it we just did and why, then I've failed. I've botched the job. So I'm trying to, I consider this whole class is sort of unmagic. Magicians try to baffle you with stuff and deceive you. Keep secrets. I'm about giving away all the secrets. That's my purpose here. What else? I assume no prior study of physics. In my experience, there are students who have taken physics before who learned a lot from it and will just breeze through this class in effect. But there are a lot of you who will have taken physics but didn't learn very much from it. Basically did a lot of calculations, in fact, and came away with very little. And so I just started square one. And it doesn't seem to hurt anybody. Physics it requires repeated trips through the same territory for it to begin to settle, begin to become a coherent whole. You can learn about what seems like one specific concept and focus and venue, and it turns out to apply here and here and here. It's all over the place, and for that to happen, you have to make many trips through the same territory. I start both of these semesters, 1060, 1050, the same way, and so those of people who have taken 1060 will find the first week's review. And again, that never seems to have hurt anybody. More visits is good. All right? Yeah. Again, any questions, please ask them. This requires discipline on all of our parts to maintain any sort of conversation here. The natural path is silence from here backwards and me just jabbering away. So please work with me on this. If you have a question that's not completely off the wall, probably you're not even close to alone, and other people will appreciate you asking it. All right? So, plus I promise not to bite. There are no dumb questions, unless I come up with them. All right. Background in physics. So just to sort of give you, this is mostly for your benefit. I used to use clickers, and clickers had the undesirable effect of dragging people to class who did not want to be here. They were physically present, mentally absent, and that was disruptive. So I stopped doing clickers because I gave some credit for them, okay? If I gave no credit for them, the number of clickers that showed up would be small. Okay, so what's your background in physics? We do this the old Victorian way, right? We go from none to some to a year to 2 years to like infinite. How many, no background in physics? How about some, but I've never taken a physics class? Kind of a vague notion, okay. I've taken up to a year of physics. Okay, this is gonna be the majority. Taken 2 years of physics, a handful, and okay, E, you wanna vote? It was more fun back with the clickers because you'd see you couldn't identify who was the alien tripped over from the world, beyond. And with the clickers, I used to sometimes have A through D and people would vote E anyway. That's life, right? Another question to ask you is 3 pairs of physical quantities, and we'll come to what is a physical quantity shortly. No, I mean, not too shortly. And the question is, can you distinguish these? So this is, for the people who have never encountered physics before, this is going to be meaningless. But anyway, can you distinguish velocity from acceleration, and mass from weight, and force from momentum? Those pairings tend to be confusing. How many think it's hopeless? I mean, nobody wants to raise their hands for that one. We'll all turn our back and you raise your hand, right? Doesn't do any good. Okay. Tree falls in a forest. I have a faint sense of the distinction. Okay? How about I might be able to distinguish each pair? How about I probably can distinguish each pair? Okay? And how about I definitely can distinguish each pair? Okay, so it's getting pretty flat across the C and D. It's dying a little bit at E. And a few people up early. All right. So finishing up here with my introduction, or getting close. Few things. I gave you a paper syllabus. Whether you have it now doesn't matter. Pick one up eventually. The real syllabus is online. I maintain my own website because I do. It's just my nature to rankle it at the constraints of anybody else's website. We will be using Colab a little bit for the homework assignments this semester. On the syllabus, it says the homework site is Wiley. In fact, it's that's the reading site. The homework will be UVA Colab. But most of the material that I care about, and for example, the videos, this video that you're seeing up here, I will post after class as soon as I sort of get my act together. I'll post it, I'll put it on YouTube and put a link from the online version of the schedule, which the syllabus has a version of the schedule printed out, but that's actually just an image of a page. Online, the online page will have links to the video. So if you miss a class, you can watch it after the effect. Don't, however, get in the habit of saying, oh, I'm gonna skip class because I can watch the video. Because you all know yourselves. And the time at which you actually get around to watching the video is, well, some people are disciplined enough to do that. Most people aren't. Okay. What else? With the book. The book now is primarily online. It is at Wiley Plus. I sent you that email to get there. I made a lot of the figures now are actually animations or human. They've got me in them often, but they're actually trying to show you what's going on as carefully as I can by way of a video rather than just a still photograph or drawn piece of artwork. So read the book. Watch the videos. There are actually many videos associated with the book on that website. And the more you get immersed in the whole process, curb your tendencies to go elsewhere mentally, the more you get involved in it, the more you'll learn it. All right? The graded work in this class is 10 problem sets unless, it rarely gets to 10. We usually lose 1 or 2 because of just time, and often it's my issue. I just don't get my act together in time. Definitely 2 midterm exams and 1 final. All right? my final thoughts. Do ask questions. If I can keep my energy up, I will drag you all into doing a lot of the demonstrations. It's hard to do that. It's much easier for me to do them myself. But it's often more instructive if you do them rather than me. And if you're too sheepish to get involved in doing them during class yourself, do them after class. And the stuff sits up here. The room is available, is held the hour after this class. So you can stick around and play with the stuff as long as you like. I'm pretty much always stick around as long as you like to. So come and talk to me about this stuff. Come and talk to me anytime. Well, I shouldn't say anytime. Talk to me before and after class, please. And in my office hours, please. That's what I'm there for. It's not a hardship. It's like, this is the point of the whole thing. I like it, okay? Do the demonstration. So I'm going to pull the tablecloth out from underneath the dishes pretty soon. And you can do this too, all right? And it works for good reason related to physics, and you can see it, and there's nothing like doing it yourself. And you can do it when everybody's left, or almost everybody's left, and it'll be fine, okay? Yeah, talk to me before, after class, or my office hours. Please, that's why I'm there. As I say, I try to learn names, people, put me out of my misery if I'm going, I know your name, but I can't help it, it's just me. What else? Yeah, this room is open the hour before and the hour after class. So come on in before 1, whether you talk to me or not. I mean, you're welcome to come on in here, sit down. During class, ideally, if you're going to come and go, out the back of the room is the best. It doesn't really matter. As long as you don't walk right in front of me on the way out. Sometimes that shakes me up. Okay, there was this one amazing moment when I was doing a demonstration right here with you and you. That seat was empty and full of backpacks. And someone came walking in and sat exactly in that seat. It was amazing. Yeah. I think it's on video somewhere. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Last thing, and this is my last soapbox coming up. Please put away electronic devices. In reality, I cannot enforce it. I do not multitask well at all. And so if I'm there trying to shut down people's gadgets, it's impossible. I can't focus. Gadgets tend to create this V of destruction behind them. It's the person with the gadget, the people sitting to their left and right, and then a wedge of people behind them that are all, ah! Okay, so here's my second and final soapbox. If you're itching to glance at your smartphone right now, you're typical of your age group. To quote an article now in the Atlantic Online, which I encourage you to go look up, people your age are living their social lives on their phones. The article is entitled, "Have Smartphones Destroyed a Generation?" And I'm worried the answer might be yes. I mean, you know this, but know this. Parents are urging their kids or the children to buy their children laptops and cell phones and all that stuff. Educational institutions are no better. They love technology, all the gadgetry and stuff like this. It's because it's innovation, which it's not innovation. It's buying other people's products and installing them and then just claiming you're innovative. It's nonsense. Anyway, I'm one of the rare people my age who grew up with computers. So I had them as a kid. I was knee deep in them. And so I followed this whole arc. I'm 50 years into computers. I watched the whole arc go by. And it's been a mixed blessing at best, certainly for education. To learn something, you got to think about it. And so nothing is going to save you from that. The gadgetry can't do that for you. If gadgets get good enough to think as well or better than you can, you're out of business. Okay? That may well happen in your lifetime too. That's another problem. Anyway, I would happily teach in a 15th century classroom. I don't need any of this technology, even though we will discuss as the topic of attention some amount of technology. That many of you are feeling withdrawal symptoms right now and can't wait to look at a screen again is a serious problem for everyone. The article that I mentioned observes that there's a strong correlation between screen time and depression. And it's a positive correlation. It's not like the more screen time you spend on your social media, the less depressed you are. It's the other, it's depressing and alienating and all that. So being immersed in your gadgets and so-called social media, it makes you more alone and more depressed. Whether it's causative, which way it's causative, I'm not certain. I have to reread the article, but it's a problem. So too much screen time. The social media actually, incidentally, they're selling a product. The product is you. And your eyeballs, your mind, your whole being is being sold to companies, organizations, and people with money, right? So you are the product. And it's worth being aware of that. When cell phones first appeared in this class, it was kind of cute. We'd laugh when one of the cell phones would ring, and I got to where I would ask the person who was being called to sing a song for the class with hand gestures. I'm a little teapot, short and stout, right? Pretty soon everybody had cell phones, and the ringers went silent, and then they had smartphones. I mean, it was not even arms race. What is it? It just went out of control, okay? So now all of you all have them. And it stopped being funny after a while. And so there's a whole world of entertainment and immediate gratification available to all of you. And you can be mentally in the room and physically absent. And I can't possibly compete with that. So I ask you to, bottom line, I ask you to put down your gadgets for 50 minutes 3 times a week. It won't kill you. The fear of missing out. No, 50 minutes, the world isn't going to just explode in that 50 minutes. If it does, your cell phone isn't going to save you. So just please try to set your toys aside for 50 minutes. I'm not going to be policeman here on this. If you're going to use a laptop, please try to stick to taking notes. The notion that came in when they first installed these Wi-Fi gadgets everywhere was all the students will be enriching their education by going and listening to the professor say something, and they'll go in and they'll find corroborating evidence online. I was like, are you kidding? There was one time when I filmed the class from the back. I put a little GoPro camera in one of those windows back there and filmed you all the other way, and to see what was on people's screens. It was a bloodbath. There was one guy back there who was like with his feet up on the, basically feet up on the couch. He had a movie going on his laptop, but he wasn't paying attention to that because he was on his cell phone chatting with people. It's like crazy. Okay, so be here in person, live. Make friends with other people in this classroom. So I don't know how to facilitate this well, but in doing the homework assignments, don't bang your head against the wall in isolation. Make friends here. You all are in the same boat. And so find other people, like-minded, like ability, like whatever, and work together. The homework, it's open season. You're more than welcome to work together on the homework assignments. Write them out separately, because if you farm out the work too much, you just don't learn very much, and you'll get creamed on the exams, okay? But there's no point in suffering on your own on the homework assignments and making no progress. Okay, so make friends. Talk to each other. Talk to each other in person. Forget the all right? I've been, these one-on-one conversations with people, and they get on their phone, like in front of me, like, okay, enough. I'm done with soapbox. Any questions, ideas, thoughts, anything? All right. Topic 1. We're done with introduction. Oh, incidentally, along with putting videos of the class up on the schedule page for this class, I put the slides up too. So let me pop the slides up here. What do I want? I want. So this is my version of the class. This is my class home page for the class, and the part that I wanted to refer to is this schedule that's right here. If if I click on that schedule, here it is. It's the live version of the paper thing I hand out as a syllabus. And here's today, introduction and skating. There will be a video link here, not too distant future. And if you want to see what we just saw, what I just said there, click on introduction, and ta-da, there are the slides, okay? And I will try to get the slides up. There are older versions of the slides are always up, but I will try to put the current version, the version that I will use today, up sometime this morning. All right? So if you want to take notes on my notes, fine. Some people benefit from writing stuff out by hand, maybe by typing it. But if all you're going to do is transcribe my words and not turn on your brain, this was not a particularly effective exercise. All right? Again, any questions? All right. Skating. Topic 1, skating. So I picked skating because it's a very simple activity. I mean, okay, you can make it complicated, but at its simplest, you can just be motionless, or you can be moving very smoothly and steadily, in fact, in a straight line, very simple kinds of motion. And so it illustrates one of the simplest, oldest concepts in physics, the name you've heard your whole life, the understanding unsure. Inertia. So we're going to deal with inertia and try to deal with it as cleanly and clearly as possible. So it is my habit with each of these topics to ask you a question as we start off. So my introductory in class question. And this one is hopefully a familiar situation, and that is a rotary lawnmower. Nearly all lawnmowers these days are rotary lawnmowers. If you lift them up and look underneath, they have a horizontal blade that's spun by a motor. And it goes really fast. It's quite sharp, and it should be. And it cuts the grasses off at a certain height. The older type of lawnmower had a reel that turned. They're kind of out of vogue these days. Okay, so the rotary lawnmower spins its blade very rapidly over the lawn, and it cuts off the top of the grasses. The question is, suppose the grasses were not rooted in the ground. They were just standing on the surface of the dirt, somehow managing to be upright. Of course, you'd expect them to fall over, but if you bunch them up, they're going to stand pretty much upright. Can the lawnmower still cut the grasses? You okay? Questions about the question? Okay, so there they are. They're not rooted in the ground. Can you still cut them? How many think yes, the lawnmower can still cut them? How many think no, the lawnmower cannot cut them now that they're not rooted in the ground? Okay, so it's about 3/4 in favor of no. 1/4 yes. All right, we'll come back to this. That's the other thing about the introductory questions is if I do it right, we come back to it at a timely fashion in the same hour, 50 minutes, and we're good. Okay, so about skating, I have had it from time to time, roller skates and stuff. Ice skate's kind of difficult. I can't freeze the front of the room, but so the maybe poor man's version of skating or a realistic person's version of skating is a razor scooter. They're all the same concept going on. Whether I'm on skates or whether I'm on a razor scooter, there are a couple of situations that are interesting and universal. One of them is that if you're on a level surface, to make life simple, get gravity out of the story, if you're motionless, you tend to remain motionless. So if you're stationary, you would be extremely surprised if when I removed my foot from the ground and just stood here, tried to balance a little bit, I suddenly shot to the right at 20 miles an hour without anybody pushing me. You've never seen that happen, right? So somehow an object that is at rest tends to remain at rest. Familiar quote, hopefully. Okay, so what's going on there? And if you want to begin moving, if you want to go from stationary to not stationary, it doesn't happen magically. It happens by way of a push. So, I could play, come up and shove me, give me a shove. But I'm actually, what I'll do is I will have the table give me a shove. A very gentle one, okay? It made me move. Yeah, and I was pushing on the table, but the table pushed back. So it really was legit. The table pushed me. I summoned that push, and that's a topic we'll deal with it down the road. But if you want to get yourself started, you need to be pushed by something. All right? So an object at rest stays at rest. An object to get moving, to change from motionlessness to moving, you need a push. Correspondingly, if you are moving, you tend to keep moving. So if I can't suddenly stop without being pushed on. You've never seen, again, somebody in a razor scooter moving along on a level sidewalk, and they just suddenly stop for no reason. Like they didn't hit anything or whatever, just boom, stopped. It doesn't happen. To stop, you need to be pushed on by something. All right? So these are just observations, the basis for the discussion that's coming up. All right. So again, my style has been for years now to ask how and why questions, to tease out the details of these early observations and to find the physics that underlies them. And so question number one is, why does a motionless skater tend to remain motionless? So that very first thing we notice, that you've always seen this, person on a razor scooter is not moving, doesn't abruptly start moving without a push. All right? And what's the answer to the question? Well, it's kind of just like a because. Why does a motionless skater tend to remain motionless? Because. And there's a body at rest tends to remain at rest. This statement is kind of, it's specific, apart from the word tends, but we'll do better, but it'll take us a while to get there. But this observation is an observation about the world, a universal observation, that the things that are not moving tend to remain not moving, where tend is a reference to issues involving pushes. So as long as you get rid of the pushes, things that are at rest stay at rest. And this is an observed behavior. So physics finally comes down to observation. You look at the world, you try to model it in your head to figure out, like, why is it doing what it's doing, and then you go and test it. I mean, if you're really officially doing physics, you would go through all these processes. I mean, I never officially do anything. I just do it. So this behavior, it's called inertia. So objects have this character in our universe. They have this character known as inertia, whereby if they're motionless, they tend to remain motionless. Again, absent a push. And you can see this in a million contexts, and I'll show it to you in two. All right. And so the first one, okay, first demonstration. This has been my first demonstration since Moses was a child. And for added degree of difficulty, why not? This used to be a wine bottle with phony wine in it. It's disappearing ink because occasionally I end up wearing it. It's now sparkling grape juice because concerns over alcohol. It's not even alcohol, but it might imitate alcohol. All right, who knows? On Rugby Road, it would be wine. Okay, these place-setting pieces are all sitting there, objects at rest. And it is their nature to stay at rest unless something pushes on them. And I'm going to take the tablecloth out from under them, an act that will just a little bit push on them. And if I go quickly, which is what I will do, those tiny pushes will become insignificant. They will act for such a short period of time, to get this technically right. They will act for such a short period of time, they will not manage to get the objects moving significantly, I hope. Once in a while, things mess up. So nothing is holding them there, where holding involves foot pushes. It's their nature to keep doing what they're doing. That's inertia. Okay? For those of you who want to try this after class, and please do, this is unbreakable, that's breakable, you can do it without the glass. Slick, limp, silk tablecloth is useful because it tends not to pull on anything very hard. And the other thing is to grab the tablecloth far from the table and choke up So you get your time, there's time for your hands to get moving fast, because speed does matter. And you pull out and down very fast, and the minimal influence that stuff has, I know I'm talking to death here. I'm like, when is the balloon going to pop? We'll pop balloons later. Not today. Okay, ready? Get set. A little, yeah. Hey, this is a lot better than that. But you get the basic idea, okay? Okay, you want me to do it again. If inertia is going to work, it's got to work. All right. I was having trouble before class. I'll blame it on the weather. All right. Ready, get set. All right. Well, thanks. Yeah, easy audience. All right. Second possibility. Apple. Ooh, he's a scientist. Okay. The idea is this. Apple's sitting there minding its own business. Object at rest. Tends to remain at rest. I'm going to sneak a knife through it. And this is how I did it for many years. And I would even do it up here. Okay, ready? You know the problem. I know the problem. All right, so I built this lovely spring-loaded knife that goes away from you all rather than toward you all. So I'm going to leave the apple here minding its own business, and I will take the knife out here. Ready, get set. Woo! Okay. All right. Yeah. Slow way of making applesauce or preparing for an apple pie. So that's inertia. The point is the apple was held in place, remained at rest because of inertia. Nothing was holding it in place. No hands were touching it, okay? It was its nature to stay put. And the knife simply came up and snuck its way through approximately too. There are a little bit of forces, and forces is a word I didn't mean to use, but pushes and pulls and stuff. Okay, so that's an aspect of inertia. Any questions about why these two demonstrations pretty much worked the way they worked? Okay. How about a skater that's moving and continuing moving? That is the other half of inertia, that a body that is moving, that is in motion, tends to continue moving basically in the same way, and where tend is a reference to, again, pushes. If you don't push on something that's moving, it will keep moving just as it was. That's the nature of things in our universe. Again, we have no control over this. It's universal. It's true here. It's true in the most distant stars. And to demonstrate this, yeah, I'll demonstrate this first. Here's the scheme for demonstrating it. More fruit. Do they still have the hypnotist come? Is this familiar to you all? It still comes. And DeLuca, has he come yet? Okay. Anyway, the protector of fruit is one of his people who looks after the fruit. And I've had the protector of fruit in this class before and was horrified by my abuse of fruit. All right. So a banana at rest will tend to remain at rest. Now, if I just simply if I at rest, I let it be at rest without holding onto it, it doesn't stay at rest, and that's kind of like, but this guy said it would remain at rest, and the answer is that's true if nothing pushes on it, but there is something pushing on it, gravity, and I can't turn gravity off. I've tried to have a switch installed, but it didn't work. So I can't get rid of gravity, which means an object that's released into the open space like this and let go of won't stay at rest because I can't stop it from being pulled down by gravity. Similarly, a solution is to work very fast. Okay, I will do very fast. Ready? I'm not a good shot here, right? I'm making slices. Okay. The reason I'm able to slice that thing is because of inertia. It tends to remain at rest. I work so fast that gravity wasn't an important part of the story. I make messes always. All right. I'm going to need more bananas. If I have an object in motion, namely the banana, if I get it moving, it will also tend to keep doing what it was doing. It will tend to continue moving at a straight line at a steady pace, it turns out. And if I go slowly, that won't work, right? Why? Because gravity again. If I work quickly, however, okay, it's pretty much a straight line. If I were a better pitcher, I would hit higher. Okay, if I never have any fun in this class. Yeah, what was my one of these ones was, look at me, I'm a scientist. All right, that includes me. Okay, if I make the banana encounter a knife en route to the wall, who's responsible for the catastrophe? Ready? Up, flesh wound. Come back. The cultural references get old, so like, come back. It's only a flesh wound. All right. If you don't know Monty Python and the Holy Grail, you don't know Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Okay, one more. It's the banana's fault. I threw the banana. My hand was out of the story by the time the banana encountered the knife. The banana continued doing what it was doing. It was moving steadily to the right in approximately a straight line because gravity was sort of out of the picture by virtue of going quickly. And so it was inertia. It was the banana's inertia that caused it to suffer fatal consequences. All right? This pairing of two observations comes together in what will be called, when we finish it, Newton's first law. I'm almost done. The timing is pretty good here. I've got one more thing to deal with, which you will notice when we get there. It's called Newton's first law of motion. This is a primitive version, and we'll do better on Friday. So it's an object. It's this observation that an object that's free of external influences, the pushes of the world, moves in a straight line and covers equal distances in equal times. Every second ticks off the same amount of distance along a straight line. And there's a special case of this. Physicists will call an object that's moving with no speed at all. They'll say it's moving, it's moving. I'm motionless, but I'm an object in motion. It's just not much motion. So the point is that Newton's first law applies even to the motionless skater. A motionless skater that's free of external influences moves in a straight line and covers equal distances in equal times, namely no distance at all. Okay? So this brings us back to this question. This question, if you will recall, can a rotary lawnmower cut the grass if the grass is not rooted in the ground? And 3/4 of you said no. 1/4 said yes. The grass. Okay, it's green linguine. Can I cut this, even though it's just sitting here on the table? I'll pull my hand out of the way as I do this. Can I cut it? How many think yes, I can cut it? How many think no, I can't cut it? Which is equivalent to saying how many think yes, the lawnmower can cut the grass even though it's not rooted in the ground. It's the same notion. And the answer is, of course, yeah, no problem. Inertia keeps things in place. You can cut grass even though it's not rooted in the ground. All right. See you on Friday.